All right, another Saturday is upon us, and what a day it is. A lot to get to, including college football slate. We got 12 games of action for you, a lot of opportunities in the DFS world, and that is why we're here at Stochastic. We're ready to make you some money. I am Ben Rasa. Matt Gajewski joins me. Week 8 is upon us. Big games, national championship level games, a 30-point total in here. We got a little bit of everything. How are you feeling before we dive in?
Feeling okay. Biggest thing. Yeah, feeling okay. That's largely because I think the slate comes down to late news, which never feels amazing. But honestly, if you're on top of it, you're probably giving yourself an advantage. So I just need to keep telling myself that. Just stay plugged in and you'll be able to come out on top.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of that, but that's why we're here. We're going to see what happens with some of these late-breaking stories. We're going to answer all your questions in chat. I always like to get into this, and then we're going to dive into something really fun and new in just a couple minutes. Thoughts on the slate, just very macro level. Pricing, soft or tough? Double quarterbacks, flex options, any themes that we want to keep in mind as we break down the individual games?
Pricing's pretty tight. Couple values. We'll definitely talk about them. But I think you'll like your lineups overall. You kind of got to punt once. There's a couple of those options. Don't think you necessarily need to do double quarterback. I honestly think it might come in over-owned. That's largely because most lineups are going to be funneled to 2 punt quarterbacks, Mike Wright, Curtis Rourke. So I imagine most lineups that have 2 QBs will have one of those 2 guys. So even if you just pivot to a running back in a super flex off one of them, which there's a ton of good running backs today, that could differentiate you. I'm going to be mostly double quarterback, probably 75% of my lineups or so. Not fully built yet, obviously, with the late news. We'll see where it comes in, but I would anticipate it being around that mark.
Fair enough. And yeah, we will see kind of what cards are dealt to us during this show. All right, we've got 12 games to get to, but I had a bunch of people, and appreciate this, at Raz DFS and in our Discord mention, you've been sneakily dropping PrizePicks cards out there. I've seen them in the Twitter streets, and we wanted to make sure our Live Before Lock audience is aware of what's going on. If you are in a state, you got a little PrizePicks action. College football, to me, is one of the least efficient prop markets out there. There are so many games and so many spots. And if you are playing college DFS, this is just another way to get some action. So if you are interested with PrizePicks, the deal is upon us. You can get that up to $100 deposit match bonus. The link is below. In addition to that, you're getting 1 free month of Odd Shopper Premium. All our betting tools, everything that you're using. So you're going to have the models to help make some of these decisions. You see the card up there as well. You see all the lobby. There's so many spots. And Matt, I know that you already built out a card with some spots, and you've been playing a little PrizePicks because it is available in your state.
I have been. Actually, yeah. I think we've hit like 4 out of 5 on a ton of these.
Yeah, that'll work.
It'll work. You get paid, but I'm hoping to get the full 5 out of 5 on one of these pretty soon. Hopefully today's the day. Played 6 of them. Do you want to get into that right away?
Yeah, I mean, I just quick thoughts on PrizePicks and just your card, and then we'll dive into the game because I think it does connect nicely. I just wanted to, first of all, make sure people are aware because I did have a couple questions about, PrizePicks. What do we do? How do I sign up? All that. The link is in the description. You get that month of Odd Shopper Premium as well. But if you had to give a couple props to the people, hit them with them.
Yeah, PrizePicks, Underdog, they're awesome. It's player props. I mean, you're playing DFS, you're kind of already in these streets. You use our projections. We have stat projections, so you can cross-reference those against the PrizePicks lines. I can see on the screen now, there's a couple I like, and a few of them are really greasy. That's just because of the games we have. Luke Altmaier, Wisconsin. This is a sneaky shootout spot. We have pretty good defenses and questionable signal callers, but both teams are really fast. Illinois is top 20 in pace. They throw the ball a ton. They're projected to be down in this game. Wisconsin's secondary looks okay on paper. I still think you can poke holes in it. They played teams like Iowa, so their numbers look a lot better than I think what actually their secondary can do. I mean, we saw Georgia Southern carve them up. So Illinois should throw a ton. We have this projected little over 200. LaShawn Williams carried the ball 24 times. With Deacon Hill under center, this team has no interest in throwing, whether they're winning or losing. He should see 20 carries. Even if he slams into the back of the O-line for 2.5 yards per carry, he's going over this. Drake Stoops is a play on Andrew Anthony being out. You have him and Jaleel Farouk slightly under projected. You can parlay this right away with Kobe Hudson to shoot out of the week. It has a 68 total. John Rice Plumlee's back. That'll elevate both Kobe Hudson and Baker for this team. For Jermaine Burton, this is probably the plug your nose play of the card. He has 19 targets on the year, but he's averaging 23 and a half yards per reception. This Alabama team is only throwing the ball 21 times per game. If he doesn't hit a big play, he's not going over this. He hits a ton of big plays, so it's definitely a plug your nose type. I mean, we'll see, but eventually he's going to end up with like 7 yards on 2 targets. And then Judkins, he's carried the ball 33 times and 18 times over the last 2 games. He was banged up before that, so the 2 13 carry games prior doesn't scare me. Auburn's defense also doesn't scare me. I think Judkins is a solid over as well.
Love it. And again, the link is in the description for you guys. Take advantage. Just another way to get action on a beautiful Saturday slate of games. Let's dive into these games now. And we start you with someone you just mentioned, with UCF and Oklahoma. A really good game, maybe one of, if not the best on the slate. Super high total. It is a big spread. Oklahoma's pushing 17 here. It's come down a little bit. But talk to me about UCF. What do you do with Plumlee and what do you do with this offense?
Plumlee's awesome for tournaments if you can stomach him. He burned myself and just about everyone in the lobby 2 weeks ago against Kansas. I think he's going to be fully healthy now. He said he was fully healthy after the game, so I don't know if it was cowardice or he lied and he was actually hurt. Something happened where he didn't play. I don't know. But he has one of the best dual threat skill sets in the country, so even as an underdog, he can get there. He's not expensive. All his pass catchers are really cheap. Hudson and Baker are both pretty strong values. He's a nice contrarian stack, and he should come in under-owned because so many people were hurt by Plumlee last time out. Backs are somewhat affordable. It's about a 70-30 split. RJ Harvey's at the lead. Johnny Richardson, he changes the pace. I think both are in play. Richardson, I have more interest in just price. We don't have a lot of strong value plays at running back outside of Dubinian. I do think Reggie Love plays, which hurts Caden Fagan. So I think you could sprinkle him as well. UCF, great tournament team in the shootout of the week.
If you go to them, again, because they are pretty sizable underdogs, how prevalent is the Oklahoma run back in those type of teams? Who is that? And of course, I assume if you like UCF, you got to like Oklahoma in the spot as well.
Yeah, I love Oklahoma. If you're running UCF, I would force a run back. If you're playing the Oklahoma side, I don't think you necessarily have to. Dylan Gabriel, he's the first guy in your lineup for cash. The best floor ceiling combo of any player on the slate. And it's largely because he's running way more than he ever has. Last 3 games, designed attempts of 9, 6, 9. Previous renditions of Gabriel, he just wasn't getting that volume. So now he has an incredible rushing floor on top of a 300-yard passing ceiling. The guy's averaging 312 yards per game. UCF's defense certainly doesn't scare you. We've seen teams like Kansas absolutely carve them. Really high team total here. I think Gabriel's a priority. Stacking's easy because Angel Anthony went down. So now you have a clear top 2 in Stoops and Jaleel Farouk. Both are underpriced for their current roles and projections. And I think Nick Anderson's going to be the 3. He just had the largest route share of these guys. Maybe splits a little bit. He's priced up. I'd rather find the salary to get to Stoops or Farouk. Really cheap guy. If you want to get there, Austin Stogner. Not really dynamic, but he plays a lot. He's their tight end. A lot of familiarity with the offense. Transferred out for a year, but now he's back. Maybe he has a game where he catches a couple touchdowns. He would be the punt.
Anything else from this game? Again, you mentioned it plays on both sides. Good environment. Really has everything you could ask for.
Yeah, it does. I think people will have interest in the backfield. I don't have a ton. Someone probably has a great game, but playing the Oklahoma roulette wheel is impossible. Last 2 games, or I guess 2 games prior to last week, Marcus Major leads, then Tawi Walker comes out last week, leads it. Prior to that, Javante Barnes led. He had 13 carries in that game. Now he's hurt, but Gavin Sawchuk had 9 in that game. I don't know who leads the backfield in carries, and I don't have a good sense. They're all around 5K. Maybe you throw a dart on like a really cheap Sawchuk, but he only had 1 carry last game. They ride the hot hand, and I don't know who's going to be hot today. I wish I did.
Yeah, and again, for tournaments, sometimes you can embrace that, but it is a difficult spot on a 12-game slate. Final thoughts here? Are we good to move on to one of my favorite games?
Yeah, play this game if you can.
Okay.
Good
yeah,
game.
Play this game. Words to live by. Mississippi State and Arkansas. Not nearly as good a game. Might be one of my favorite bets, though. I like Arkansas in this game. I think they're going to look good. But let's start with the other side of Mississippi State. Both of these teams are fighting to not be the worst team in the West of the SEC. I think Mississippi State will end up winning that title. What can we make of them? How many actionable plays do they even have on this slate?
And fortunately for your bet, you've got Mike Wright starting for Mississippi State. So Arkansas not only plays at home, but they're facing a backup. Mike Wright previously played at Vanderbilt. His best skill, his rushing ability. The problem is he's inept as a passer. He lost the job multiple times at Vanderbilt. And if you can't win the starting job at Vanderbilt, shouldn't be a lot of optimism playing Arkansas. He runs, so I mean, he's going to have a good floor. Ceiling, I really question, even against it's a very questionable Arkansas defense. They're allowing 8.9 yards per pass, but Mike Wright can't throw. So that's what I was saying earlier in the show. 2 quarterback builds, I think, are largely going to be funneled to Mike Wright and Curtis Rourke. I love Rourke way more than Mike Wright. Like, Rourke's in my cash line well before Wright. And now I think he's probably going to come in over-owned. He's just a bad player, man. So game total's not high, 47.5. Like, he needs a 100-yard bonus to get you there on the ground. I would rather play a running back than Mike Wright.
Yeah, that's not good. When you look at them, though, does that change at quarterback? And that just, we've seen this a little Mississippi State all year, not a great identity. Does it render all their skill position players kind of towards the bottom?
Yeah, their running backs are all hurt. Joe Marks, he would have a lead back role, but he's been playing through an injury. We saw him get banged up in their last game. Pittman's also been banged up, so they've moved to Seth Davis. Kevon Lee, the Penn State transfers, played a pretty nasty committee. And with Mike Wright's inability to throw the ball, I do not want a Mississippi State receiver.
Anything else from Mississippi State?
No.
Okay. Move into the other side.
Sorry.
Arkansas. No, listen, we want to get through the teams. We don't want to make plays just to make plays. KJ Jefferson, he's doing what he can. His rushing ability, and you can speak more to this. If you look at the box score, you're like, this guy's running 15, 20 times a game, but are they real runs, or is it him running for his life? He's played Bama and Mississippi and A&M and LSU in the last 4 weeks. That is a brutal stretch. I assume he gets a reprieve here a little bit and maybe is more viable, or is he still on the outside looking in?
I think it's the most viable KJ Jefferson's ever been. Among those rush attempts you mentioned, that includes 28 sacks. This offensive line replaced 3 starters this offseason, and by replace, I mean they went to some scrubs from their depth. They didn't even try to hit the portal, at least to my knowledge. Maybe they didn't failed. I don't know. But in this matchup, they're favored. Mississippi State has the worst pass rush in the SEC. This team's outside the top 100 in pass rush. So cleanest Jefferson should be all year. Best game environment he'll face the rest of the way. If you're going to play him, today's the day. I still have questions. They don't throw the ball a ton. They're super slow. But you're not looking at the same negative rushing floor, or I guess sacks taken, that we've seen in previous games for Jefferson. I actually like him for tournaments.
When you click his name in there, are you running him naked? Is there a skinny stack that you look to? How do you build out the rest of the Arkansas exposure?
You can run him naked. I think that's live. Or Andrew Armstrong, Isaac Tesla. Most of the targets go through those two. Nobody else has more than 17 on the team. So I would just focus my attention there. Tesla, your punt. Armstrong's a little more expensive. They're just tournament plays, though. You'll find better guys in their price range if you're looking for a one-off.
Talk to me about this backfield. Right before game time last week, we saw that Raheem Sanders was out. It looks like he is out again. What does that do?
Rashad Dubinion handled a pretty good workload. 14 carries, only 1 target, but he had a 68% route share. So if this game, for some reason, goes off script and Arkansas is trailing, he's the pass catching back. A lot of safety with him. He's by far the best punt running back. As news stands now, we'll see if this persists through the day. But yeah, Dubinion, he's the punt running back you should be playing, assuming no Blake Watson shenanigans.
I ask you every week, and you tell me no every week. Will you have any running backs paired up with their quarterback?
The only team I allowed it is Memphis.
Okay, so not going to be here. Anything else from this game? Are we good to move on?
I think we're good.
The game, Penn State and Ohio State. Set your alarms for this, even though you don't really have to because it's just right after the show. 5-point spread in the shoe, 45.5-point total, give or take. We're going to find out how good Penn State is. They dismantled West Virginia and Iowa in Happy Valley. That's about all they can say. They beat UMass 63-0. Everyone can do that, though. We don't really know how good they are. I want to hear how good you think they are. And what do we see? Do they change their offense in a game that we know is going to be competitive? Do we see more of one of these backs garner a more significant timeshare, or does Aller play differently? What do you think about Penn State today?
Awesome real life game, poor DFS game. I don't think they changed their offense much. They've been neutered, but kind of by design. Luckily, we have a full year sample of Singleton and Allen playing with each other, 50-50 committee. Last week and the week before, don't read into the swing towards Singleton. Allen got hurt, so they just limited his reps, probably in anticipation of this game. Should be 50-50. They don't throw the ball downfield. And I mean, they haven't even been trying. Like Ohio State, they've at least tried maybe to work out some kinks. They had a new signal caller too. So ideally, I think you want to run those plays against bad teams. So when you get into games like this, it's not completely foreign. But Penn State hasn't done that all year. So I kind of think it's a limitation in Aller's game at this point. His efficiency metrics are putrid. He's facing the best defense that he's seen all year. He's definitely not in play for me at 8K. No chance. Running backs, maybe a sprinkling, but we're talking about you need to play 150 in order to get these guys. If you're running just a couple lineups, absolutely not. If you are stacking Aller against your better judgment, it would be with Keandre Lambert-Smith, but that is a full fade for me. It is going to be a sprinkling of Singleton and Allen in my 150s. Otherwise, no Penn State.
On the other side, I think we're going to find out a lot about Ohio State as well. We do have the data point of them going into Notre Dame and winning. Now, I thought that spoke more about Notre Dame than anything else. We saw them sleepwalk through Maryland. They turned it on late, and then they destroyed Purdue last week. Kyle McCord, he's another quarterback, I think, in the same category. Will he take a step here, and is he playable today?
He actually has good efficiency metrics. He has some really bad play, too, so I kind of just think, get the ball to Ibuka and Harrison, you're going to look pretty good. So his yards per attempt and stuff, that's all solid. By far the toughest matchup he's faced all year, and that's with Notre Dame on the schedule. This Penn State defense is fierce. Their pass rush is awesome. I have questions about the OSU offensive line who replaced 3 starters. They look good on paper, but when you isolate games against better competition, notably Notre Dame, their offensive line really struggled. So not in love with the run game, looks like Henderson's going to play. That renders this a 4-back committee just because we don't know the health of not only Henderson, but Chip and Mine Williams, who are playing through injuries. Dallin Hayden's there. I mean, Ibuka, he's questionable. I mean, there were reports from practice this week that he was limping all over the place. He might just straight up not play. It's probably better for his health long-term, but you also might get a Jalen McMillan situation where he tries to go through the injury, plays limited snaps. So definitely not Ibuka. What this all means is the best matchup is probably for Marvin Harrison. It's not good. The secondary for Penn State's elite, but we have one difference maker on this offense who's not hurt. He should probably see like 15 targets in this game. You want to play a contrarian one-off Harrison, I think that's completely fine, but that's really the only thing I'm doing with this game. He's the only guy I'm going to have anything close to decent exposure to. Again, I'll sprinkle Singleton and Allen, but those are under 5% guys in 150 sets. Harrison's really the only decent play.
Is Harrison at all contingent on the status of Ibuka, or he's playable whether he's ruled in or out?
Yeah, you can play Harrison in any game script. He's just the best player on the field. Yeah.
Certainly is. I can't wait to see that matchup against Penn State's got dudes in that secondary. There's no doubt about it.
Real.
So
watch that. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, great game. I think you said it right at the top. Great game. Probably not the best DFS game. Any other thoughts, or can we move to the opposite of this in every iteration? A good DFS game and a god-awful game.
Let's please move on. That I know what we're going to talk about, and I'm excited.
The Fighting Trent Dilfers. We've got Memphis and UAB, a 7-point spread, a healthy total here. Let's start with the Memphis side. We've seen them a little bit. Certainly Hennigan is a quarterback that has some experience and he's got some mobility at times. Where does he fall in the priority rankings for you?
He's just outside cash consideration for me. The way lineup structure works out today, I think you want to play Gabriel and Rourke. They're pretty clearly the top 2. Hennigan's in the GPP tier right below. I honestly might just put him 3. Good mobility, is 129 rush yards, gets some designed attempts more in competitive games than non-competitive games. He averages 36 attempts per game, really good volume. He's at 283 yards per game. UAB's defense is horrific. Hennigan's going to ball out if he gets the opportunity. Easy to stack. You've guys at 2 price points. Rock Taylor, slightly more expensive, $5,800. You need to go down, pay for a cheap guy. That'd be Demir Blankumsey. Blankumsey has 9 targets in 3 straight games or more. I mean, both these guys locked in options. The problem beyond that is they rotate 3 wide receivers for that third position, and their tight end, Anthony Lanphier, he just catches the ball 3 yards downfield and falls down instantly. So unless he gets a touchdown, I think you don't have a lot of upside with him, but he plays a decent amount. The big question with Memphis is the backfield. Looks like Blake Watson's going to give it a go. He burned me and everyone who played him during the week in week 7, but his role's amazing when he's on the field. 17.8 touches per game, very clear pass catching role. He's third on the team in targets, and that's including a game where he barely played last week, averaging 5.7 targets per game. Blake Watson's an awesome play if he's in, and it looks like he's going to be.
Cash viable, or is there still too much risk?
Maybe there's a little risk that he doesn't play the full role, so I would probably pivot elsewhere just for the safety a couple other backs provide. But if he plays the full role, yeah, I would consider him there. Just think you have a little safer options elsewhere.
On the other side, UAB's been playing some pretty crazy games. There's no doubt about it. They give up production. They get production. I don't know exactly what this team is doing with Zeno and co, but talk to me about what you see with this team.
Yeah, the defense is just downright pitiful.
It's bad.
Probably should have mentioned this with the Watson talk. UAB is allowing 6 yards per carry. Every 2 runs, the opposing team gets a first down. So Blake Watson, just absolute nut spot of the century for him. On the UAB side, their defense is so bad that they're in constant shootouts. They run an air raid, so it's already pretty friendly, and then their defense only exacerbates that. 19th in pace, 54% pass rate. I don't know where these reports that Jacob Zeno wasn't playing came from. Just wild speculation. I watched the UAB game last week. He left briefly, went to the injury tent, and then returned to the game. There's been no reports that Jacob Zeno is out. Now, he's not exactly a dynamic signal caller. It's more or less the offense that propels him to fantasy scores. Again, 19th in pace, 54% pass rate, 36 attempts per game. You could be a pretty awful signal caller, and as long as you have halfway decent efficiency, you're going to push 300 yards. Memphis's defense is also bad. They're actually allowing more yards per pass attempt than UAB. Yards per carry, 4.6. That's not good. It's just when you compare it to the 6 yards UAB's allowing, man, Memphis defense looks pretty decent. But at the same time, you should have volume on Zeno's side. Good matchup for him. You can play him at 7,100. If you're worried about the injury risk, just play Hennigan or someone else. You can stack him pretty easily. Tawan Palmer, he's on the field every play. So is Fred Ferrier. Amari Thomas isn't, which is weird. His 47% route share sticks out because he had 12 targets. Like if you go by targets per route rate, this guy is an unbelievable targets per route rate. It's like the best in the country. He has double-digit targets in 3 of the last 4 games. Like this is some early career Tyreek Hill usage where he's hard to project because we don't know how many routes he's going to run. But man, when he's out there, very clearly a priority. I think you can still play him. If this guy backdoored his way into like 80% of the routes, he might get 17 targets. So very good play. Backfield, Isaiah Jacobs tore his ACL, so they've just absolutely loaded up Jermaine Brown. He's now had 19 touches at least in 2 straight games. Again, Memphis defense, not good either. I think you can play any of these UAB guys. Honestly, some of just like the injury lies from the game around the industry might make them go underowned.
We had one question from chat on the game. Are you okay with a double stack with Hennigan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds like
Go ahead.
No. I was going to say, it sounds like this game is up there towards the game onslaughts that you could really load up on both sides.
Yeah, and so the total's not quite as good as the Oklahoma UCF game, but the prices are all cheaper. So you access the game in a different way, and you get more studs by stacking this game versus the OU game. I'm definitely going to stack this game.
Final thoughts? Anything else? It seems, again, one of the better games.
Yeah, that if you have a specific question, let us know, but I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah. Now we're getting serious. Oh, yeah. 33.5 point total, and it's not the lowest on the slate. That's the world we live in. Air Force and Navy. First of all, just why? I love Air Force, maybe my favorite team in the country, but why are they on the slate here? That just seems like not a great idea, but they are. They take on their fellow academy. I don't know, man. What do we got? Talk to me. Air Force is a wagon, but they're not a DFS wagon.
Yeah, I'll leave my thoughts on the DraftKings decision-making to myself and talk about the game. Terrible DFS game. Zach Larrier is going to start, which is great for Air Force. Like once that news came out, I bet Air Force. People, for some reason, think Navy's good. This team is absolutely atrocious. I have to try with all my mind not to just cuss when talking about Navy. They're on their 3rd string quarterback. Like, what is there to like about Navy? you're going to hear this blind reasoning, which people use all the time because they don't actually want to dig into matchups. You bet Armed Force Academies is double-digit underdogs. They have like a 70% cover rate. It's like, yeah, have you looked at who they play? Navy plays in a terrible conference. Air Force plays in a terrible conference. When they play certain opponents, they're going to get absolutely blown out because of the talent disparity. And in this matchup, starting Zach Larrier versus third string Braxton Woodson is a massive difference. So yeah, I bet Air Force laid the 10. This team should slaughter them, even in a slow game. Air Force quarterback Larrier has an awesome rushing share. He's coming off 19 carries, got banged up in the game. Maybe they ease off him a little bit because Navy sucks. And then at the same time, he's basically a running back. So you have to play him in your super flex or quarterback position. If you play like Mike Wright or Rourke, you at least have the outside chance of throwing. I think there's other running backs with more upside than Larrier because he's coming off the injury. So it's like I would rather play the other quarterbacks. I would rather play a different running back in the price range to get to him. And one of the running backs is Emmanuel Michel. The guy has carry counts of 28, 33, 18, and 22 in the last 4 games. Navy's defense sucks. You can definitely play Emmanuel Michel, but that's about it. Navy X amount.
I wasn't even gonna ask. Navy truly just not playable. Yeah, Michel, that workload, and we know, of course, the ground attack. It seems though there's no possible way to play more than a single Air Force player in any lineup, right?
Correct.
Okay. Just making sure. We'll save some time. We'll just keep it moving. No doubt about it. We got a lot of games here. Want to make sure we've got everything for you guys. Western Michigan and Ohio. Somehow I don't want to say duped because the game hasn't started, but I ended up betting Western Michigan. So I really need them to get it going today. Keep it reasonable. 16.5 point spread. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it. I will say they did hang around a little bit with Mississippi State. Talk to me about this team. We talked about this over on Betting You on the Odd Shopper channel. You were talking about Hayden Wolf and their kind of quarterback carousel. What do you expect from Western Michigan today?
Yeah, they can't get out of their own way. So I would not play a Western Michigan quarterback. I don't know what the coaching staff sees, but against Mississippi State, they start Salopek. He's terrible. They bench him. Hayden Wolf balls out, covers the game. Apparently, he didn't do enough. Next game, they start Trayson Bourget. Plays horribly, gets benched. Hayden Wolf comes in, moves the offense. I think Wolf starts, but apparently no signal callers in this offense have a long leash. It's air raid, so like typically I'd want to look at a guy like Wolf, but I just have no confidence he plays all the snaps. Jalen Buckley was handling this monster workload, then he got banged up. He's averaging 19.5 touches per game, and he's played 2 games that were limited due to injury. He's averaging over 100 yards per game. You could play him as a contrarian one-off from the Western Michigan side or a run back. There's a chance he carries the ball like 25 times. And then because they're air raid, I think you could look at run backs for Western Michigan if you're stacking Rourke. They did lose Anthony Sambucci. I don't think we're going to get injury news on him. Like that's another problem with DraftKings putting these games in the slate. It's like, does Western Michigan have a beat reporter? Is he at the concession stand right now? Because he's definitely not watching warmups. I don't know. So I don't know if Sambucci plays. I don't think he does. But that's led to Kenneth Womack, Leroy Thomas, and Malik Dodone playing almost all the snaps. In an air raid offense, you can definitely run back one of these guys with Ohio on the other side. Rourke is going to be among the most popular signal callers on the slate, and I don't think Western's going to be too popular.
Man, yeah, I mean, you mentioned it's a sneaky good game, in my opinion, and I do get it. There is some unknowns. We'll keep an eye on that news. Anything else for this game? It does to me, just kind of thinking about the slate. We talked about UCF and Oklahoma. We talked about Memphis and UAB. I don't think it's in that tier. Is it kind of in that next tier, though, in terms of games with optimal targets?
Yeah, the total's decent. And I think there could be some room to the over because of Western's terrible defense and air raid system. And Ohio's played some weird games this year. They played some horrible opponents like San Diego State. I don't think their defense is as good as like the 5.8 yards per attempt allowed. You look at efficiency metrics. I have this secondary outside the top 100.
Poor secondary. All right, couple of questions before we keep going because we have just such a weird slate of games here. I want to go back to UAB for 1 second. Fred Farrier, good punt. He's in the mid 3s.
Yeah, I didn't see a target last week, but still played a ton. You can use Farrier.
Pick 2 for DK Cash. We've got Michelle and Rock Taylor, Isaiah Williams, and Kyle Williams.
Give me the Michelle side.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Favorite play under 4.3
Favorite play at 4.3
or under?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to pull it up.
That's all right. I mean, we can replace. I'm looking right now. Then
I
get
definitely
to the
like some guys in these range. It's just hard for me to remember.
No, of course.
I have a squirrel brain, dude. You got to remember that.
Well, that's why it's a perfect time to mention while you look that up. If you want these answers, the best way to honestly sign up for a package, weekly or monthly. You get all our projections, our ownership, everything that Matt does, the data sheets, the usage, and you can kind of see all the options because, of course, we can give you some of the hints here, but you really want to do that if you are playing. So the links are below along with the PrizePicks link. Get on in there, be part of the Stochastic community. But is there anyone that stood out for you?
Yeah, so we have Tesla as the highest projected guy. I agree with it, but I do think Chaz Nimrod for Tennessee is kind of sneaky. He's the replacement for Brew McCoy. Only a 1 game sample, so kind of noisy. I would look at him. He's not going to project that well, but if you like the Tennessee side at all, they should be throwing. Nimrod played a ton.
Oh, Nimrods. Oklahoma State and West Virginia. I got to ask you, man. I don't know why I shouldn't be nervous, but I'm a little nervous. This spread is dropping. And I am certainly Team West Virginia here. It's down to 3. I saw 2.5 pop up. It was heavily juiced, but man, 49.5 point total. So Oklahoma State, just to recap what they've been doing, they've been in Stillwater. They beat Kansas State. They beat Kansas. I thought both of those were a little, I don't want to say lucky, but weird games. Bowman seems to have control of the offense. Is he playable at this point?
Can we pivot back to some news we just got?
Sure.
All right. So Tawi Walker's not warming up for Oklahoma. That renders this a 2-back committee. So you're no longer playing just like complete roulette for this team. I think you could look to Marcus Major. We're talking about Oklahoma. Just sorry, I didn't mention that. Oklahoma, I think you could play Marcus Major and Gavin Sawchuk now a little easier. We just removed a guy that led the team in carries last week, and I don't think Barnes is playing. So I will be changing my CSV to include more of the Oklahoma's just in the nut spot on the entire slate. No one's going to be playing these backs. So yeah, I would look to Sawchuk and Marcus Major now.
Cash viable?
No, they're still going to split 50-50, and who knows which one of them actually plays. So
Sawchuk, my man.
You love Sawchuk. 4 games ago, he played a ton 4 games ago. Hasn't really appeared since. Marcus Major was a ghost last week, led the team in carries the 2 games prior. So my preference is Major. Feel good about it? Absolutely not. But yeah, we'll be mixing these 2 guys though.
Okay. No, good callback. We need to know that stuff. Oklahoma State, back to them and the Cowboys. We got Bowman. Certainly they found something a little bit in that backfield with Ollie Gordon. He's getting crazy usage. Is that what we should expect here? What do you expect from Oklahoma State?
Yeah, man, he's got to be the early candidate for Wagon of the Year. This guy had 37 touches last game. Like, he's their only good player. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but he's by far their best player. He's just game script independent. He's right up there in that range with Braylon, Bucky Irving. I have no issues playing Gordon over them. I think it's very close between all 3. But yeah, if you can get one of those studs, Ollie Gordon very much in play. Going to be playing him a ton in tournaments. I mean, this is the Chuba Hubbard volume. It's the Jaylen Warren volume. We've seen Gundy do this a ton, and now it's Ollie Gordon.
Is he cash viable?
If you find the extra salary to get up there, I find myself landing a lot on like the Jermaine Brown range. But yeah, you can play one of these guys.
On the outside, we saw this a couple weeks ago with Stribling out for the year. Presley, Bray, Owens. It's really those 3. Are any of them in play for you today?
I still think Owens is too cheap coming off a couple good games now without Dazon Stribling. He's my favorite, but Bray and Presley, they're definitely in play. I think I don't have it in front of me. I'm trying to fix my CSV and get some of these Oklahoma backs, but I believe Bray is really cheap on FanDuel. So that's a place I would highlight him at least.
Yeah, I mean, again, some of these guys are price dependent depending on the site, and you just look at Oklahoma State and you kind of have a pretty condensed, solid offense. So for me, certainly Gordon with that 30 touch usage is going to be in play. And then if they can get over the top with West Virginia's secondary, which could be exploited, I get it. But I want to turn to the other side of the game here. With West Virginia, you've got Green in that backfield. He overcame the ankle. He looks good to go. They lost on a stupid Hail Mary in the last game. Just a dumb game overall. What do you make of West Virginia in this spot?
Love Green, especially on FanDuel. He's one of the best price adjusted plays there. He's fine on DraftKings. I'm not stacking him. I'm not forcing a stack. I'll say that. If one pops up, it pops up. But he runs a ton. So Oklahoma State's defense definitely doesn't scare you. You can use Garrett Green just fine. Essentially, Oklahoma State has a good pass rush, and that's the only thing they do well.
Yeah, no, their defense sucks. Anything
well
on the outside? I'm just saying, what can I say? Anything on the outside for West Virginia?
It's either Devin Carter, Hudson Clement, but I don't think you're prioritizing those guys.
God, this is a wacky slate. We're getting all sorts of weird situations.
Yeah. So if you're drinking beers today, play like 2 lineups or something so you stay on top of it. But otherwise, make sure you're by your computer. You have a plan. It's not just this slate. Night slate's got a ton of news. There's going to be afternoon news all day.
News all day. Javonte Barnes is warming up, FYI.
All right. So I don't know.
It's a tough.
I don't know.
There's just a lot of unknown. Ibuka and Henderson doubtful, blah, blah, blah. But how many pieces would you go in that Memphis UB game if you're doing a stack? I think you could have upwards of 4 or 5, honestly, if you're going a full game stack.
Agreed.
Is Nick Anderson for OU a good play?
Yeah, he's fine.
Can you, Gabriel Hennigan GPP? You have a preference?
Sorry, Hennigan and who?
Or Gabriel. I assume it's a 1v1.
Yeah, I would rather play Gabriel.
Yeah, I would too. If we had to bet, do we think Blake Watson gets full workload? I do, but I am just guessing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Owens or Blankham C for cash?
Blankham C.
Yeah. Anything else from this game, or can we move to Pac-12 action?
Let's go to Pac-12 action.
Let's go to Pac-12 action. Washington State and the Ducks. Both teams could use a bounce back, but Washington State disgraced themselves so much that I'm not sure there's any coming back from what transpired last week. An awful performance from a team in Pullman when they scored first. I don't really understand what happened. Now they're 20-point dogs to Oregon, who, they battled really tough in a competitive game. Healthy total here. Is Washington State a contrarian option with Cam Ward and co., or are they just going to get blown off the map here?
I think contrarian is a good way to put it. They still run the air raid, so yeah, it's not like the opportunity won't be there. Efficiency has been terrible. Their O-line is a real problem. Like, he is constantly under pressure. So not ideal. Definitely just a contrarian or pass option. Otherwise, receivers are still interesting because of the air raid. Lincoln Victor's back. You're not getting a discount on any of them. Kyle Williams, Victor. You can mix and match these guys if you're running like an Oregon stack and need a run back, but they're not going to be staples of my lineups or anything like that.
Anything else on the Washington State side, or can we just move to the Oregon side of this game?
Let's go to Oregon.
All right, let's talk about him again. Hard fought, competitive game. Bo Nix threw that ball 44 times in that back and forth game. He's almost $10,000 on DraftKings. Is that a spend that you can make today?
In tournaments, you can. I'd rather play Gabriel in cash. Gabriel's running more than Bo Nix, which insane to me, but that's the world we live in now. I mean, he needs to be coaxed by Washington State to a ceiling. If Washington State gets blown off the map, Bo Nix is throwing the ball 28 times, rushing twice.
Does that mean that you want a Washington State player in your Bo Nix lineups?
Most of the time, yeah, but it's not a condensed offense. So you can also run into the problem where it's like, all right, Cam Ward threw to 15 guys. Nakia Watson stinks, so he's never in play. Yeah, it's not hyper condensed, which makes me still a little weary of that offense.
What about the skill position players for Oregon? We know that they've got some dudes. Bucky Irving has been outstanding. Franklin on the outside has asserted himself as a true alpha. Can you pay up for these type of players?
Absolutely. Franklin, I think, is the best pay up receiver. Just game environment combined with opportunity. A lot of people try to click Marvin Harrison, but this game is way higher in terms of total. His target share is no different. Talent probably favors Marvin Harrison, but I think the game environment makes up for that. Touchdown equity, all those things. I think Franklin's your best pay up. I thought Gary Bryant was locked into a role. He'd basically been a 70% player in every game this year, and then he got benched last week randomly and torpedoed me. But with that, we saw Tez play a lot. We saw Trayshawn Holden play a lot. You can play those guys as tournament options. If you think Gary Bryant bounces back, go for it. I don't know about him, though.
Couple major pieces of news here, and it relates to our super chat from Travis. We appreciate that, which was, what would you give Major and Sawchuck for projection? Before you answer that, Marcus Major's battling a shoulder issue today and will be limited. I would expect Gavin Sawchuck to get a lot of run. That is a tweet that just came across my feed. So does that really make Sawchuck potentially the guy?
We don't know how healthy Barnes is either. I mean, I don't know. Now I'm going to take Major back down after I brought him up. But who tweeted that, Ben?
Parker Thune. Shout out for Parker. Covering recruiting for the Sooners. I mean, again, it seems pretty reputable.
Yeah, he was right after leading the backfield 2 weeks in a row. Major was randomly limited last week. So that it's not like this is out of nowhere. You're not going to get good injury news out of Venables. Yeah.
Also, Jacob Zeno is out.
Okay, so that's been rumored. Landry Liddy's the backup. He started games for Louisiana Tech. He's not as mobile as Zeno, but he started games. He shouldn't be, like Deacon Hill out there. So
or Deacon Hill catches a stray.
Deacon Hill, I mean, he couldn't start for Incarnate Word.
You can. Incarnate Word.
Cam Ward can.
Cam Ward absolutely can. And so can half of Texas State's defense, which we know. But that's neither here nor there. Again, all we can do is report the news. It's very difficult to know what's true, what's not. You have to kind of deal with that with DFS. We just want to make that clear. Is Sawchuck viable at FanDuel at 4,400? I think he is. I really do.
He's viable on DraftKings too.
Yep, he is. All right, let's get to the third Saturday in October, which is today. That's why Tennessee and Alabama are playing. They play the same time. 9.5 point spread. It's dropped a little bit. 47.5 point total. Can Joe Milton get it going, or is Tennessee's offensive line woes and just their ability to go up against an Alabama defense that I still think is really good make them pretty poor for DFS today?
Yeah, Joe Milton sucks. His offensive line sucks. And Alabama's maybe the toughest defense he's faced all year. So I don't like Joe Milton. He doesn't run. He doesn't throw the ball well. I'm not going to play any of him. I think the question really comes down to, do you want to play a one-off Chaz Nimrod really cheap at 3,400? I think you could. He's at least in the conversation, but this Tennessee team stinks.
The other side, Milroe has made some plays. There's no doubt about it. He's got control of the offense, but it is hard to know, he's kind of where is he with the rushing upside? He's taken obviously a lot of negative plays in recent weeks. Can he turn that around at 8,400? What do we do with him? You mentioned one of his pass catchers over on PrizePicks earlier in the show. Talk to me about this game.
They're just not running him, man. His designed attempts, they ebb and flow all over the place. But man, there's no consistency to it. I don't think you can trust it. He's been below 5 attempts in 3 straight games. These are designed. Yeah, I mean, he needs to run more than this because he's averaging 22 pass attempts per game. He's not live for a 300-yard bonus. This is a very tough matchup. Tennessee's defense is really good. That's how they win games. Joe Milton and this offense is not good, but the defense is electric. Good pass rush. Offensive line for Alabama is bad. Milroe's going to be under pressure. Without the designed attempts, he could finish with negative rushing yards. I know that's crazy to say because he's dynamic as a rusher, but Tommy Rees hasn't seen that film. I don't know, but yeah, Milroe's unplayable for me at 8,400 and even worse on FanDuel.
I assume you don't want anything to do with McClellan in the backfield?
McClellan's cheap on FanDuel, so he's much better over there on DraftKings. At best, he'd be a GPP pivot. There's a lot of good RBs on DraftKings. FanDuel is a very different pricing structure. He's extremely cheap over there.
And then to wrap up Alabama, Burton on the outside, you mentioned some crazy home run ability at times for some of these pass catchers. Is that what we're drawing to? And does the price point make them playable?
They only throw the ball 22 times a game. So I'll be playing 0.
That does make it tough. All right. Well, we'll keep it moving. We do have 3 games left, but I do want to mention real quick for the people out there, if you do make some wagers and you like to do some betting, first of all, Odd Chopper, we got you covered always. Check out our YouTube channel over there, oddchopper.com as well. But if you are, I'm going to name 5 states, and then I'm going to name another state because the actual answer, it's 6 states. So don't listen to me. New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado, and Kentucky. If I just said your state, got some money for you. How about $150 in bonus bets? $365 if you happen to be in Kentucky. You bet 5, you get $150. It is that simple. The link is below. All courtesy of Bet365. Not only do you get access to the book, a book that I wish I had in New York, but I don't. They've been around forever. If you bet that $5 and you lose, you still get the bonus bets. If you win, you get the bonus bets and you cash your ticket. It's a win-win situation there. A great way to boost the bankroll. It's just more money to play with. Anytime you have those opportunities, it is worthwhile to take advantage. You do have to be 21 plus, only 18 in Kentucky. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. But I'm telling you right now, it is a great offer and one that will not be here forever. So check out Bet365 if you're in one of those 6 states. Wisco and Illinois, probably not a game we'll spend too much time on, a competitive spread, but we're back in the Big Ten, and that means low scoring, low totals.
Yeah, for Wisco, it's Braylon Allen or pass. No Ches Malusi. So he has really good workload. Illinois' defense is very bad. But now moving to backup signal caller, I do not know what the pass rate is for Wisconsin, and I imagine it takes a dip with Braden Locke under center. Braylon or pass. And on Illinois, I think Altmaier's a little too expensive to get to on this slate. Has some rushing ability. I don't fear Wisconsin's defense, but Illinois might just be a straight up pass outside of Isaiah Williams, who has really good target share. But I think Reggie Love is going to play in this game. If he's out, then you could look to Caden Fagan, but I am not anticipating that. I'm actively bringing down my Fagan ownership. It's a bad matchup regardless, so it's going to be tough for him. But yeah, there was a lot of optimism from Brett Bielema this week on the status of Reggie Love, which I think would make it a full-blown committee, but this is heavy late news stuff. Make sure you are monitoring through the day.
Is Isaiah Williams cash viable?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. No. I just like to ask those questions. We did have a couple questions. I know we're bouncing around. It's just the kind of that slate about UAB. Again, we're reporting it looks like Zeno is going to be out. Does that hurt Omari Thomas on the outside? Is he still playable?
Oh, yeah, definitely hurts him.
Yeah. Still playable, though?
Yeah, you can still play him. Good game environment. I imagine, I haven't looked at the current spread. This number's got to be moving. I would guess it's moving down and in favor of Memphis.
You would think so. You think it crosses 10? Let's see.
It should have crossed 10. UAB stinks.
Can't even find the game. Maybe it's off the board. I'll find that. Sawchuck or Harvey on FanDuel. They're the same price. Harvey for UCF.
Harvey.
Still Harvey? Okay. Memphis. It's up. It only moved, on my book, it only moved 1 point.
What? Sometimes these are slow. See if it keeps moving.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. Anything else? I know Wisconsin and Illinois only got about 2 minutes of airtime, but what's there to say?
That's exactly it. You're right.
Poor guys. You know, we like to get the bad games out of the way so we can savor.
Play better, and then you get more airtime.
Play better, and then you get more airtime at Stokastic. That's words to live by. We only talk about the best games, which is why Minnesota and Iowa is up. Perfect timing for this. 4-point spread for Iowa. They're at home. I'm pretty sure this is the lowest total ever. I'm not joking. I think this actually is the lowest total ever. It's at 30.5. This is just sad. And I honestly think if I had to bet this, I might bet the under.
It's the lowest total in 20 years. I know that. I mean, like modern times, it's the lowest total.
I mean, what are we doing? You look at Minnesota. First of all, they're not good at all. So it's not even that they just like play good defense and can't score. I don't even think they play good defense. They're just a bad team. Do you see any reason to get to anyone on Minnesota?
You could make the argument for Darius Taylor if he plays. I don't think he does. He's dealing with a hamstring. Volume, and the volume's what got him hurt. So I wouldn't be optimistic with him. If he's out, X out the team. Iowa, to your point, Minnesota's defense is atrocious. They're allowing 4.6 yards per carry. With Deacon Hill under center, they should slam LaShawn Williams into the back of the offensive line 25 to 30 times. How efficient do you really need to be? So LaShawn Williams only playing this game.
Yeah, I'm honestly stunned that you were able to find even half playable games in this game. No joke.
Yeah, it's just volume, man. And I still don't like it. I'm not playing a ton of those guys. I'm not playing any of the Minnesota guys, but could be a late swap thing.
Yeah, look at this. Yes. Since 1995, appreciate our man behind the glass, Jacob Roach. There hasn't been anything lower than this. This is just sad.
Yeah, again, play better. Play better.
Let's get to the last game. We'll answer some questions and we'll get on out of here. But again, just temporarily eat a little lunch and come back. We're talking NFL at 1 o'clock here on the Stochastic feed. And of course, tomorrow we've got you covered with all things NFL, a 4-hour show jam-packed with information. You're going to see me, Matt, and the entire crew ready, and then NBA will start, and we will just be on the air 24/7. All right. Texas and Houston, a large spread to get us out of here. 23.5 points, 60.5 point total. Brooks, Ewers, what's the deal with Texas? Who do we want to target?
Yeah, Texas has a great team total. I think the receivers are going to be pretty under-owned in this game. So Worthy, AD Mitchell, Sanders, all awesome plays. Think you can get to them just fine. And Jonathan Brooks, just flat out one of the best plays on the entire slate. At running back, volume is amazing for him. I'll be playing all those guys. Ewers, he's not my favorite, but you could definitely play him as a contrarian one-off because team total is really high. There is some game stackability if you think Houston keeps it relatively close. Really good team to look at.
Is Brooks cash viable?
Oh, yeah.
Brooks or Ollie Gordon?
Ollie Gordon.
Okay.
I don't feel confident about that.
Close?
It's very close. I mean, Brooks is in a way better game environment. Honestly, that game environment might be enough for me. I'm changing my pick.
Okay, changing your pick on the fly here. Are you comfortable having Brooks plus a pass catcher for Texas without yours?
Yeah.
Okay. It's that. I mean, again, they have a large implied total. It's that type of game. Do we care on the other side? It kind of segues nicely into Houston, what they give us. Is this the type of situation for Brooks and these pass catchers to maybe hit their ceiling? We need Smith and this attack to get there, or does it not really matter and they can just rack up so many points on their own? Talk to me about Houston and what you expect.
Yeah, Houston throws a lot. So you could look to maybe a run back pass catcher. Golden got hurt in the last game, but you have Manjack, you have Brown. They're really the only guys I look at. Pretty nasty running back by committee, so that is not interesting to me. But yeah, a one-off receiver. I don't have a ton of interest in Donovan Smith at his price. There's just better options on this slate.
Anything else for Houston? Again, game script wise, not that their backfield was kind of not interesting to begin with. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, and now they have some guys back from injury. It's just pure rotation.
Okay. Anything on the outside we need to know?
No, not in addition to like the golden stuff.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of the games. We're going to keep up on the injury news. We do have some questions, though, as well. And we've talked about, the UAB game quite a bit with Zeno looking like he's out. Are you going to look to actually go to the backup there, or is it just how it affects the guys on the outside, how it affects the game stack, and you don't want anything to do with the UAB quarterback now?
Not unless it's the biggest tournaments. I'm going to play 0.
Okay. Let me get you a list. Braylon Allen or Ollie Gordon?
Ollie Gordon.
Okay. So it sounds like him and Brooks, I don't want to speak for you, but it seems like you have both of them ahead of Braylon Allen.
Yeah, Braylon Allen, just a terrible game. Braylon Allen's been really bad this year. That should also be noted. Yeah. I know people love him because he's 19, but Wisconsin also doesn't do him any favors. But yeah, Braylon, it's been a little rough sledding for the kid. And I think he's a day 3 pick if the draft happened today.
No respect for your alum.
I mean, as much as like the Packers would probably want another A.J. Dillon, I don't know if a lot of other teams agree.
All right, DK Flex 5,900 or less. Let's see what we can get here.
59. This is a pretty good price range.
Isaiah Williams, maybe.
I like Emmanuel Michel for Flex. Yeah,
Air Force.
Rock Taylor.
Yeah. Thoughts on Stylianios?
So the backup tight end for Iowa, I don't know if Addison Ostrania is going to play today. He's been back at practice, I believe. If Ostrania returns, you're stone dead with Stylianos, and Stylianos still might be stone dead even if he plays 150% of the snaps.
That's a take that's uniquely reserved for situations with those type of games. Can you give us a little bit on the FanDuel plays? Caleb Williams is over there. There's certainly some good games over there. Anything for people building? Again, you can always get all the tools and the projections for a week. Just come in for the week. The links are below. But what are your thoughts on the FanDuel slate before we bounce on out of here?
My highest owned QBs are Gabriel and Nix, just different pricing structure. 3 and 4, Brady Cook and Mike Wright. I love the South Carolina-Missouri game, which DraftKings felt they should leave off in favor of Army-Navy. At running back, Jonathan Brooks is my most owned 2, 3, and 4 are Bucky Irving, Ollie Gordon, and Jason McClellan. Again, just different pricing structure for Jason McClellan over there. Wide receiver, I have Luther Burden, Jaleel Farouk, Javon Baker, Troy Franklin. Tight end. Don't play a ton of them. But if you're wondering, Terrence Ferguson, Sanat for Kansas State, Sanders for Texas.
Brown for UAB or Michelle for Air Force?
Probably still Brown.
Still Brown. Sawchuck cash viable with everyone else out or not worth their opportunity cost? It does still feel a little dicey, but
very dicey, not cash viable.
Stoops and Brown or Rashad Owens and Braylon Allen?
Give me the former.
Yeah, I'd agree. $3,900 wide receiver. Do we have anybody that cheap?
Chaz Nimrod.
Yeah, there's not that much down there. You're kind of funneled into a couple spots. Man, there's so many good running backs on this slate. Pretty loaded. Any words? I mean, the Ohio State stuff seems like we're not going to get full word. And does it really affect the slate that much?
They're all warming up. Like, you're not going to know their roles. And we've seen them play decoys, play limited guys. Yep. They did this with Smith and Jigba last year. You're not going to be able to project their workloads. This game sucked before any of this injury news. So I'm just not playing most of them. It's still a contrarian Marvin Harrison or pass.
Mitchell, I assume that's the Texas Mitchell, or Rock Taylor from Memphis.
Rock Taylor.
Kyle Williams or Isaiah Williams?
Isaiah Williams.
Here we have it. We got through a lot today. A lot. I didn't ask for likes because we were doing all sorts of things, but I appreciate everybody tuning in as always. Before you go, if you can hit that like button, make sure you subscribe to this very channel. You don't want to miss it. Be part of the Stochastic family. We love this show. We love doing this show, and the support means everything. And I think we're covered. You mentioned several times, and I'll give you the floor to close us out. Be by your computer. React. It's one of the many reasons to follow Matt on Twitter, Matt_Gajewski. You can follow me because I get to say it at JazzRazDFS. I'll be in the betting streets all day. We've got so much going on today. Any final thoughts for the people as we put a bow on this fantastic week 8 of games?
Yeah, definitely late news slate. So make sure you stay around even for the night slate. A lot of injuries there. But otherwise, thanks for going through the greasy Western Michigan game, Iowa game, and all of it. Love having you guys here and love being able to do this for you. Much appreciated. So thank you for your presence. Appreciate you guys. For me, for Matt, for Jacob behind the glass, as always, good luck. Enjoy your day. Shout out to PrizePicks for powering this show. Links are below for you. Have some fun. Make some money. Tweet us when you do. Come back for week 9. Same time, same place here at Stochastic.